Hello and welcome to the Luv Doc podcast with hosts Waldo Wachewski and Ophelia Brewski.
Have you ever been driving down the highway just, belting out a classic, universally beloved song, like one you've heard 1,000 times,
Right.
and suddenly you stop and think, wait, is this song actually about something completely inappropriate?
Yes.
Yeah.
You get that sudden lyrical whiplash.
Right.
The melody is so wholesome, and you know every single chord by heart, but then the words suddenly paint a completely different and much more scandalous picture in your mind.
It's wild.
Yeah, the innocent veneer just completely falls away.
It's like looking at a familiar, really beautiful painting, and for the very first time, you notice this hidden, slightly dirty detail in the corner.
Oh, totally. And once you see it, you can never, ever unsee it.
Exactly. Well, today our deep dive is built entirely around that specific late-night realization.
I'm so ready for this.
We are looking at this wild, surprisingly philosophical love doc. The piece is titled Softly, Slowly, and it's basically responding to a reader named McGee High.
Also a fantastic name.
Incredible. And this reader asked a very blunt question. Is Elton John's sweeping 1970s hit Tiny Dancer actually about masturbation?
I mean, it is just a phenomenal premise.
It really is. So our mission today is to use this hilarious, slightly unhinged theory to figure out something much bigger.
Right, the deeper philosophical question.
Exactly. Once an artist releases their work into the world, who actually gets to decide what it means? Does the truth of a song belong to the creator, or does it belong to you, the listener?
Well, the Luv Doc's initial reaction to this reader's question is incredibly relatable, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Because he does what any of us do when we're confronted with a really bizarre theory.
Yeah.
He assumes there must be an objective truth out there.
Right. He thinks he can just find the answer.
Exactly. He gives the letter some careful consideration and thinks, I'll just telephone Bernie Taupin and ask him myself.
Which is so funny. Bernie, of course, being Elton John's longtime lyricist.
Right.
I love that his very first instinct is to go straight to the manager of the song, so to speak.
Let me just speak to the creator.
Yeah. But he quickly realizes how impossible that actually is.
Which leads to this hilarious thought experiment.
Right, to illustrate the absurdity of trying to reach a rock legend.
He literally considers texting a friend named Alex.
Okay, yeah.
Who apparently knows the actor Kiefer Sutherland.
Wait, Kiefer Sutherland?
Yeah. And he specifically notes Kiefer from the movie Lost Boys.
That is such a random, amazing detail.
Just to see if Kiefer might happen to have Bernie Taupin's phone number.
I mean, I get the absurdity of texting Kiefer Sutherland to solve a late-night pop culture mystery.
It's a bit of a stretch.
But it highlights a really strange quirk of our modern culture, doesn't it?
Oh, completely. We have this illusion of access now.
Yes. You can tweet at a celebrity, or you can leave a comment on their Instagram.
Right, and it tricks your brain into feeling like you were just one or two digital handshakes away from getting a direct answer.
Exactly. Like you can just get validation for your most hyper-specific midnight musings.
But on some level, don't we feel a little entitled to an answer?
I mean, we stream the albums, we buy the concert ticket.
Yeah, we invest a lot.
So when a fan like Maybe High spins up a theory, and the Love Doc suggests this reader was likely experimenting heavily with cannabinoids at the time.
Which honestly tracks.
It really does. But doesn't the creator owe their audience some clarity when these theories pop up?
Well, the Luv Doc argues that they absolutely do not.
Not at all.
Not at all. And he anchors that argument in this massive, almost unbridgeable disconnect in the artistic ecosystem.
Okay, unpack that a little bit.
So he paints a contrast between his own life and what he calls the advice game and the reality of a famous creator's life.
Right.
The Luv Doc notes that writing his column offers a lot of spiritual recompense.
But is very short on actual remuneration.
Exactly. He's rich in spirit, but not in cash.
So he is down in the trenches.
Sweating over the meaning of a song, dealing with the frantic, weird questions of the public.
And then there's Bernie Taupin.
Right. Bernie Taupin, as Luv Doc points out, has a net worth of roughly $200 million.
Wow.
He lives on an equestrian ranch outside Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
He has expensive cutting horses.
Cutting horses. Okay, so totally different worlds.
Completely. The everyday consumer of art is down here wrestling with the meaning, debating it on the internet forums.
Right.
While the untouchable creator is completely removed from that churn.
As the Love Doc assumes, Bernie is probably wrapping up his daily concerns by mid-afternoon.
They aren't sitting around waiting to validate our wild theories. Their concerns are on a completely different, stratospheric level.
It's a harsh reality check on our parasocial relationships with artists.
It really is.
We think we're in this ongoing dialogue with them, but they left the chat 40 years ago to go ride a horse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And because the Luv Doc can't just call it Bernie Taupin, he is forced to confront a really uncomfortable reality about making art.
Which really brings us to the philosophical core of his column.
Right. He argues that when you put a piece of art into the world, and he notes that he has personally arted an embarrassing amount of times,
I love that phrase.
you no longer retain full intellectual ownership of that art.
Okay, but he is very careful to make a strict distinction about what he means by ownership here, right?
Yes. And he uses his signature self-deprecating humor to clarify it.
He says, let me be very clear. That's not a legal opinion.
Right.
I am not a Supreme Court justice, even though I look exactly like 93% of all Supreme Court justices, historically speaking.
Which is just a fantastic visual.
A stern-robed historical figure delivering rulings on classic rock.
I can see it perfectly.
But he specifies he isn't talking about, quote, mythological monetary instruments or the ability to cash Spotify checks.
Right, he's talking about perceptual ownership.
And I kind of struggle to separate these two concepts.
Really? How so?
Well, if you write the lyrics, you literally own the lyrics. How can you lose ownership of your own creation just because someone misheard you or projected their own weird ideas onto it?
Okay, so think about it like this. Financial ownership is clean. It's contractual.
Right.
Bernie Taupin and Elton John own the publishing rights, and the royalty checks clear the bank. That is tangible.
Right. Money is tangible.
But perceptual ownership is the ability to control how a piece of art is perceived, understood, and emotionally processed by the public.
Okay.
And the Luv Doc's argument is that the very moment you release the art to the public, that perceptual control just instantly evaporates.
Oh, I see. It's almost like, okay, think of when a photographer captures a deeply serious, poignant photograph.
Right.
Maybe it's of a tense political moment or a dramatic event, and within an hour, the internet has photoshopped it into a meme.
Oh, that is the perfect analogy.
The photographer still holds the copyright, right? They can sell the original print, but the internet owns the joke.
Exactly. The original context is dead, and the artist has zero power to force people to take it seriously again.
Zero power.
And the Luv Doc explains why this happens. It's because the audience, in his exact words, freaky.
People are definitely freaky. They
Yeah.
will take what you've made and just run with it in completely unpredictable, often bizarre directions.
But we need to look at the psychology of why the audience is so freaky.
Okay, yeah. Why are we like this?
Well, it's not just malice or like boredom.
Yeah.
When a creator makes art, they know their original intent.
The emotion they were trying to convey.
Their specific mood they wanted to set in that recording studio.
Yeah.
But human beings are wired with something called apophenia.
Apophenia.
Are you miffled that no one thought to buy you some flossy Luv Doc merch for your last birthday, anniversary, bat or bar mitzvah, graduation, baby or bridal shower? Your outrage is completely justified. Let it out and then get some revenge on your unthoughtful friends and loved ones by web surfing over to thepleasurecraft.com and buying all the dope merch your closets and storage spaces can hold. Remember, money is only temporary, but Luv Doc merch lasts easily a decade or so with proper care. At least that's what the merch company rep told us when he took us to that expensive strip club.
Wait, I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Is that in the context of like seeing faces in clouds or burnt toast?
Yes, exactly. It's the tendency to perceive meaningful connections between completely unrelated things.
Oh, okay.
When you listen to music, your brain acts as a pattern matching machine. It is desperately looking for relevance to you. Art basically acts as a blank canvas, and human consumption is inherently ego-driven.
So listeners will subconsciously twist an intended meaning 1,000 different ways.
To fit their own lives.
Right. Their own traumas or their own late-night cannabinoid-fueled epiphanies.
Exactly.
But isn't that inherently disrespectful?
It's respectful. How?
Well, if an artist pours their soul into something, writing a genuine tribute, doesn't the historical fact of what they meant matter more than my random projection?
I mean, maybe.
It just feels a bit arrogant for the audience to just claim the meaning.
You might call it disrespectful, but the Luv Doc sees it as a fundamental, unavoidable law of art. The creator creates the physical art, the lyrics, the melody, the recording itself, but the audience creates the meaning.
Right.
Think about your own favorite song, like the one you listen to after a really rough day.
Oh, sure.
You have probably mapped your own personal struggles onto lyrics that had absolutely nothing to do with your specific situation.
Oh, 100%.
Right. You were participating in that rewriting process.
Yeah, I guess I am. And the Luv Doc jokes about the scale of this rewriting, too.
He does.
He says that if you're lucky, your art gets twisted 1,000 different ways.
Right.
But for him, as a humble advice columnist with an embarrassing amount of art out there, he says his work is usually twisted in the low teens.
Which he assumes is probably why he doesn't own an equestrian ranch in Santa Barbara like Bernie.
Exactly.
But a multi-platinum hit like Tiny Dancer doesn't just have one meaning anymore. It has millions upon millions.
Wow.
Every single person who has ever listened to it, cried to it, sang it in their car, or overanalyzed it late at night has created a slightly different emotional version of it in their own mind.
It establishes what the Luv Doc calls a multiverse of meanings.
A multiverse of meaning. I love that concept.
It's so good. Every time someone hits play, a new alternate reality of the song is born.
You no longer control it. It belongs to the freaky masses.
So, if the audience has total, unrestricted control over how they perceive a song, let's test this theory against our reader maybe high.
Let's do it.
Let's look at how wildly the intent of Tiny Dancer actually diverges from this specific, very colorful interpretation.
Well, we have a rare case here where we actually do know the original intent. The historical record is quite clear on this one.
Right. The Luv Doc notes that the interweb seems solidly convinced on the background of this song.
Yeah.
Tiny Dancer was written for Bernie Taupin's first wife, a woman named Maxine Feibelman.
And her background perfectly matches the imagery throughout the song.
Right.
She was a former ballet dancer, and she worked as a seamstress for Elton John's backing band.
The lyrics are incredibly specific. Blue jean baby, LA lady, seamstress for the band.
Right. It is a direct, literal description of her life and her role during that era.
It's a sweeping, deeply romantic tribute from a husband to his wife. It's practically a documentary in lyrical form.
Yes.
And yet, Maybe High's theory completely ignores all of that rich historical context.
Right.
Why? Because the reader is leaning incredibly hard into exactly one line.
Just one line.
The very last line of the first verse. Tiny dancer in my hand.
The entire masturbation theory hinges entirely on those three words. In my hand.
Textually speaking, as the Luv Doc points out, absolutely nothing else in the song supports this assertion.
Nothing.
It is an entirely manufactured premise based on taking a single phrase wildly out of context.
Yeah.
The seamstress detail, ignored. The LA lady detail, ignored.
This is confirmation bias happening in real time.
Really? How so?
Once the reader's brain locked onto the phrase in my hand and assigned a scandalous meaning to it, it simply filtered out all the other contradictory information.
Wow.
The brain just amplifies the single data point that supports the new, entertaining theory and mutes the rest.
That makes so much sense.
This perfectly proved the Luv Doc's entire philosophical point about perceptual ownership.
Right.
You have a deeply personal, heartfelt historical tribute written by a husband about his wife. And in the hands of a freaky audience member, it is instantly warped into a crude joke.
The original intent is absolutely powerless against the audience's imagination.
Exactly. And the Luv Doc provides a brilliant counterexample to show how easily you can do this to literally any song if you isolate one line.
Oh, right. He brings up another massive Elton John hit, Benny and the Jets.
Which has a completely different, almost surreal vibe compared to Tiny Dancer.
Yeah, totally different.
But it is just as susceptible to this kind of lyrical vandalism.
Lyrical vandalism, I love that. He says, imagine applying the same logic to Benny and the Jets. You take the lyrics, they're weird, they're wonderful, Benny, she's really keen. And he jokes, whoopsie, clean up on aisle 6.
Oh my God.
And then he adds the kicker, and I'm not even high right now.
It's a hilarious visual, but it's actually a rigorous logical takedown of the reader's method.
It is.
If you are determined to find a dirty or inappropriate meaning in a piece of art, your brain will find a way to cherry pick the evidence to build that narrative.
You just ignore the whole song to focus on one perceived double entendre.
Yep.
You can basically ruin any classic rock staple if you try hard enough.
Oh, easily.
But let's bring this back to Bernie Taupin. I still struggle with how a creator survives this.
Survives the lyrical vandalism.
Yeah. How do you go through life knowing that millions of people are out there projecting their own neuroses, their own jokes, and their own bad 2 a.m. theories onto your most personal, heartfelt work?
Well, they surrender.
They just give up.
They have to let it go.
Mm-hmm.
As the Luv Doc wagers, Bernie long ago made his peace with these endless misinterpretations.
I guess you'd have to.
When you have a multi-platinum catalog, you have to accept that multiverse of meanings. It's the cost of doing business at that scale.
Right.
You surrender the perceptual ownership entirely, basically just to maintain your own sanity.
And the Luv Doc visualizes this surrender perfectly.
He does?
He imagines Bernie musing about all these bizarre theories from his fans while he literally trots his expensive cutting horse down to the mailbox to pick up his royalty checks.
See? He still has the financial ownership.
Exactly.
That offers a considerable amount of comfort, even if the perceptual ownership belongs to maybe High and everyone else on the internet.
The creator retains the royalties, they retain the initial spark of intent, but the audience retains the reality of what the art means to them in their daily lives.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
So we started with a wildly inappropriate cannabinoid-fueled question about a beloved 1970s rock staple.
A question that fundamentally misunderstood the historical facts and intent of the song, I might add.
Completely. But by asking that ridiculous question, the Luv Doc helped us uncover a genuinely universal truth about art.
Which is pretty cool.
Once a song, a painting, a poem, anything leaves the creator's hands, it belongs entirely to the weird, wild, and sometimes freaky interpretations of the public.
You can't control the narrative once the art is out the door.
You really can't. But there is one final detail that puts the perfect button on this entire journey.
Oh, the quote. Yes.
At the very end of the column, the Luv Doc circles back to his original fantasy of having Alex call Kiefer, to call Bernie, to finally get an answer on the tiny dancer masturbation theory.
Right.
He doesn't get the phone number, of course.
Sounds
But he drops this incredible historical nugget. He mentions that Elton John himself once described his own songwriting process as being a bit like having a wank.
It just brings the entire absurd premise full circle in the most unexpected and brilliant way.
Doesn't it?
The artist himself uses the exact same metaphor the reader was searching for, just applied to the acts of creation rather than the content of the lyrics.
It's almost too perfect.
Really is.
So we started by talking about that feeling of driving down the highway, singing along to a classic song, and suddenly wondering what it's really about.
Yeah.
If the actual creation of a legendary song is, by the artist's own admission, a solitary, deeply self-satisfying act. Isn't it entirely fitting that the interpretation of that song is just as solitary and personalized for you, the listener?
Absolutely. The artist got what they needed out of making it. Now you get what you need out of hearing it.
Exactly. Next time you are driving down the highway, belting out your favorite track, and you start to analyze the lyrics, ask yourself, are you hearing the artist's truth, or are you just hearing your own?
Thank you for listening to the Luv Doc podcast.
To read the column that spawned this podcast, go to austinchronicle.com/columns/the Luv Doc. There are probably worse things to do with your time, right?